Okay, let's unpack this. We are taking a deep dive into the world of Two Tonne Machete, or TTM,
Right.
a band that has, really rapidly become one of the most vital, uncompromising voices in the contemporary UK alt-punk scene.
Absolutely.
And we're zeroing in on their latest single, Pigsics, which landed back in November of 2025.
And our mission today is to sort of cut through the noise and really dig into the political urgency and the almost impossible DIY rise of this band.
A band from Northwest England and North Wales. And we're using their promotional material, what the industry calls an EPK, or electronic press kit,
Mm.
as our guide to what makes them tick.
And what's fascinating here is that TTM isn't just a high-energy punk act. They are, and this is a quote from the sources, thoughtful, fierce, and full of purpose.
Hmm.
They operate with a deeply ingrained political ethos that, it informs every single note they play.
And the central theme of this new single is a deliberate head-on confrontation.
Yeah, with the machinery of the state and the contemporary face of policing.
Mm.
For anyone interested in how, creative art actively responds to political power, TTM is a real case study in modern resistance.
Exactly. And that's really why we wanted to bring this deep dive to you. If you're tracking political movements in the UK, or you just want a shortcut to understanding an absolutely crucial, uncompromising new voice in modern rock, this is your map.
Let's start right at the core of it all.
The message of Pigs.
We have to start with the song's central claim. The sources position it as a fierce, urgent anthem about the policing of dissent and the escalating crackdown on protest across the UK.
So this isn't just like generalized anger. It's incredibly specific.
And it's timely.
Very timely. And the band wrote this during a particularly contentious period. The context is just crucial here, isn't it?
It is. They highlight that peaceful demonstrators in the UK can now be arrested for actions as simple as holding a sign that challenges the state.
So this track is designed to directly call out the growing use of force, surveillance, and the criminalization of resistance.
It's an important distinction to make. This isn't historical protest music.
No.
This is written right in the heat of the current political moment. The track actually names the tools of suppression being used right now. They reference two very specific police tactics.
They mention kettling and tasers. Now, for those who might not follow UK policing terminology, what exactly is kettling?
Kettling is a crowd control tactic used by police where demonstrators are encircled and contained,
Right.
sometimes for many, many hours, to restrict their freedom of movement and disperse them by exhaustion and discomfort.
And it's controversial, right, because it often traps peaceful individuals along with any actual agitators.
Exactly. By naming these specific tactics, TTM is grounding their protest in the physical reality of that confrontation.
So the song is addressing the violence, the suppression of the state, and it rolls all that commentary into a core synthesis.
It does. It wraps up the political action into an emotional call. Pigs is explicitly about rage, resistance, and solidarity. It is a fundamental refusal to be intimidated.
By the machinery of the state.
Precisely. It's highly organized political commentary, delivered with full-throttle punk intensity.
And here's where the political message becomes deeply, tragically personal. Because the track features this recurring, powerful chant, "Lights, gather, remember to run in."
Mm-hmm.
That phrase has a potent, specific inspiration that, it just speaks volumes about the current state of UK societal tension.
And this is where TTM connects their track to a moment that really shocked the national consciousness.
A candlelit vigil for Sarah Everard on Clapham Common.
Yes. This was a moment when women gathered, not in protest of legislation, but in mourning for a murder victim. It was a highly sensitive, emotional, and, peaceful occasion.
And what was the response that they highlight in their work?
The sources emphasize that these women were met with heavy-handed police aggression.
I remember the images.
The imagery of women mourning a horrific crime, being violently dispersed by the authorities, it created a massive moment of cultural trauma and betrayal. The chant is directly inspired by those shocking scenes.
So it acts as a memory and a warning.
Yes, turning a moment of specific sorrow into a universal rallying cry for self-preservation.
That context is just vital. It elevates the track beyond general political frustration into a document of specific recent cultural confrontation.
And as the band says, this is truly protest music for the present moment, loud, uncompromising, and impossible to ignore. The music is an immediate reflection of the social temperature.
And that reflection is clearly resonating. If the core conflict is resistance, then understanding the band itself is key to seeing why that message is so effective.
Definitely.
So let's turn to the artists themselves. Who exactly are Two Tonne Machetes?
Well, they define themselves as a feminist alt-punk force rooted in the Northwest England and North Wales area.
And their political spectrum is quite broad.
It's very wide-ranging, reflecting the breadth of issues faced by their communities. While Pigs target state control, the band also explicitly confronts misogyny, sexuality, toxic masculinity.
And other forms of social control in their wider body of work. So their music is really an activist vehicle.
It is. But it's interesting how they blend that radical politics with a very pragmatic, almost professional approach.
Right. It's a hallmark of the modern DIY scene, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
They emphasize their DIY pride and their deep commitment to community spirit, but they pair that with what they call professionalism and a total commitment to their craft.
Meaning the political intensity is never an excuse for poor musical quality.
Never. They are hardworking, fiercely creative, and relentlessly driven to ensure the medium is as powerful as the message.
And that dedication leads us directly to their sound. I mean, how does a band writing about rage and resistance manage to also deliver what the EPK calls authentic, high-energy, feel-good punk anthems?
Well, isn't that the fundamental contradiction?
It seems like it.
But that's the genius of their delivery. I think the contradiction is resolved in the catharsis of punk. The feel-good element isn't about ignoring the pain.
It's about the energy.
It's about the sheer, exhilarating energy derived from collective defiance. The music provides a vehicle for rage, transforming frustration into unifying power. That's the punk tradition distilled, really.
Okay, so let's get into the musical anatomy of that transformation. What makes their sonic collisions so potent?
The sources describe a powerful collision of elements. Powerful vocals, crunching distortion, and bass-driven intensity.
So more technically, what are we talking about?
We're talking full-throttle energy, razor-sharp guitars, a truly thumping, groovy bass line, and striking female vocals that give them a unique melodic edge.
And the vocal delivery, it's dynamic.
Very. It allows them to shift from raw power to more nuanced political storytelling.
For listeners who need a clear reference point, where do they sit in the current ecosystem?
They're firmly established in the current wave of politically charged, high-energy alternative rock. The EPK actually name-checks bands like Mannequin Pussy, ID-less, Amyl and the Sniffers, and the Distillers.
That tells you everything.
It really does. You're looking at uncompromising energy, strong political consciousness, and a very raw, immediate sonic attack. If you appreciate bands that use rock music as a platform for social change, you'll feel instantly at home here.
And the critical response we've gathered really focuses on the sheer physical impact of the sound. Let's look at those review quotes again because they are incredibly visceral.
They are. The band's name, Two Tonne Machete, it clearly sets an expectation.
And the reviews confirm they meet it.
They do. The punk site described the sound as like being hit by said weapon full-on in the gut.
Wow. That's a powerful validation of their intensity.
And they also noted the powerful vocal onslaught with a sound that gave you nowhere to hide.
But it wasn't just about the physical aggression. The critics recognized the intelligence behind the attack. Board City described them as thoughtful, fierce, and full of purpose.
Which confirms that political ethos we highlighted earlier. Precisely. And RGM focused on the musical execution, which is vital for long-term credibility.
Right, you need the skills to back it up.
Exactly. They specifically mentioned the high-end energy with groovy, hard-hitting bass lines and summarized the band's capability simply by stating, this band are kicking.
So let's quickly confirm the lineup that's delivering this sonic assault before we dive into their remarkable trajectory.
Of course. We have Emily on vocals, guitar, and keys using share pronouns, Ro on bass, Thibaut on drums, and Mark on lead guitar, all using he/him pronouns.
Okay, so we have a clear identity and a fierce sound. Now let's talk about how this fiercely independent DIY band manages to convert that raw intensity into massive industry momentum.
Yeah, their success is anything but grassroots in scale.
And that's the compelling tension here, isn't it? Fierce independence meeting global reach.
It is. They are proudly DIY, so they operate without a major label machine, yet their first singles, and now Pigs, have achieved just staggering airplay figures.
They secured spots on key platforms like BBC introducing Merseyside and Radio X's exposure with John Kennedy. Those are huge validations in the UK scene.
Huge. But the truly staggering number is the distribution.
Airplay on over 400 stations worldwide.
Exactly. How does a DIY band achieve that level of global penetration without a massive distribution team?
Well, that kind of organic global reach is a testament to the power of a genuinely compelling message and a relentless work ethic in the modern digital landscape.
It suggests that their political ethos, confronting state power, fighting for solidarity, is translating across borders. Music directors and listeners far beyond the UK are clearly hungry for their specific brand of punk.
And 2025 wasn't just a win for radio, it was described as an explosion on the live circuit.
Absolutely. They transitioned from a promising local act to an established festival performer incredibly quickly.
They played significant scene-defining events like Focus Wales, Manchester Punk Festival, and Future Now Festival.
Building their reputation show by show. But the culmination of that year, the real proof they had broken through the punk establishment, was their standout performance at Blackpool's Rebellion Punk Festival.
For listeners unfamiliar with the scene, what is the significance of Rebellion?
Rebellion is, well, it's arguably the world's most significant and longest-running international punk festival. It's an institution.
So to succeed there means you've been validated by the global punk community.
That's right. And the defining achievement for TTM was drawing a record crowd to the introducing stage.
And that detail is key. The introducing stage is designed to showcase rising talent, but a record crowd means their pull exceeded that of many larger established acts playing elsewhere.
They aren't just being accepted, they are actively stealing audience share. It's the moment they prove their live reputation is translating into serious, measurable demand.
It showed that the passion and the politics are connecting with huge numbers of people face to face.
Without a doubt.
So after this incredible 2025, how do they plan to sustain that momentum into 2026?
They are not taking a breath. They're following the single with a brand new EP, which is slated for release in spring 2026.
And that will be coupled with an extensive run of UK dates throughout the entire year.
It will. And they're starting that calendar year with a major validation in January.
The support slot.
Yes, they secured a significant support slot for Pulled Apart by Horses.
And supporting a band of that caliber is a major step up professionally.
It is. It means they're moving out of solely punk venues and into wider alternative rock spaces, suggesting management and promoters are now banking on their crossover appeal.
So the final assessment in our sources confirms this trajectory. TTM's live reputation continues to grow as one of the most exciting, high-energy, emerging alternative acts in the UK.
They've proven that uncompromising political art can achieve critical mass.
They really have.
To summarize the core narrative of Two Tonne Machete, they represent the perfect fusion of political urgency and musical ferocity.
And they are highly skilled at mixing that essential punk aggression with dynamic light and shade.
Which allows them to deliver depth and emotion while staying utterly true to their anti-establishment punk ethos. They're not just delivering noise, they're delivering a message that resonates globally.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? By digging into their sources, we now understand the precise political motivations and the specific, devastating cultural references, like the Clapham Common Vigil that fuel contemporary protest music in the UK.
You see it right there in a track like Pigs, Pigs.
Exactly. You now know exactly why they sing, and more importantly, why people are listening.
And that leads us to one final provocative thought we want to leave you with.
Okay.
If Pigs, Pigs is explicitly a song about solidarity and resistance against police and state machinery, what does the band's documented success, moving from DIY pride to securing airplay on 400 global stations and setting major festival records, what does that suggest about the current societal hunger? Is TTM's rise proof that audiences are now actively seeking out and rewarding artists who are uncompromising in their confrontation of power, and that the message of resistance is resonating louder and wider than ever before?
Something to consider as you dive into their discography.